everybody. Welcome to the On the Road edition of Goat Talk. We're coming to you today from the Beauregard House in French Quarter, New Orleans. Everybody, we're excited to be here today. We've got Sub-2 Deals coaching student and expert investor Pam Fisher here with us today. We're going to be talking about some creative finance. She's going to talk about some creative finance formulas that she uses to structure deals that profit her insanely and take care of sellers' problems that they have. I want to remind you before we get started, if you haven't got your tickets yet for Sub-2 Palooza, Pam's actually going to be a presenter for us there. She's doing a roundtable on Thursday night. She's going to talk more about the topics that she's talking about today. In addition, we'll have over a dozen other speakers, some of the most respected names in real estate. John Burley will be there, Bill Bronchick, Scott Horn, Bill Walston, Richard Roop, and a bunch of other people that you guys are all real familiar with. So we hope you come out and see us for that. You can get your tickets at sub2palooza.com. We may already be sold out hotel rooms. I haven't checked it. Moving, as most of you know. But we only had a few left last week, so I'm not sure if we still have those, but maybe we've got a couple. I also want to remind you, if you're looking for absolutely free tools to use in your business, get over to sub2coolstuff.com. We've got, did I say that?
Sub-2 cool stuff?
Cool stuff, yeah.
I like that, William. Sub-2 cool stuff. So you're just kind of a cool guy.
Yeah, well, listen, I try. But anyway, we've got, 14 or 15 tools, anything from negotiating ebooks to business plans to amortization calculators. It's got a ton of stuff for you over there that you can download absolutely free. We are going to ask you for an email address, but hey, no free lunch, right?
Got to get something out of it.
Yeah, got to be able to communicate with you. Listen, if you don't like what I say, and I don't communicate very often, but if you don't like what I say, just answer. We'll still be friends. You can still join us here on Goat Talk. So, anyway,
we like the goat.
Yeah, that's right, the goat. And I would have. If somebody asked me, who was it that? It was Bill Bronchick, wasn't it, that asked me? Where did that come from? And I said, listen, I would never, ever in a million years call myself the GOAT. But I had a student one time that every time I would post something, they would say, something about the GOAT speaking. And I was like, okay, so we just roll with it now.
Roll with it.
But anyway, hope you guys are having a great day out there. Pam, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and what you do, actually.
Sure. William, should we be concerned that at 11:04 we only have you and I on the call?
No, we've got 16 people, it says.
Oh, okay. I only see that you and me are on the call.
Well, we're taking Zoom live and Facebook.
See, you're more technology advanced than I am.
I told you this morning who the mastermind behind this stuff is. It's not me.
Okay.
Yeah. So
well, thanks for having me on here today, William. I'm Pam Fisher. I'm born and bred here in good old North Carolina. I have the pleasure and delight of living in Raleigh, which is continuously one of the fastest growing #1 places to live in the U.S. And house prices are showing it. You can't buy anything here anymore for like it used to be, right? But I love my area. I got into real estate completely accidental. I had a family member say, will you buy me a house to live in? And I laughed and said, no. But I happened to go on Craigslist at that time. And I looked into that area and there was one piece of property that had 5 acres and 5 mobile home lots with 3 park-owned homes. Now, at that time, I had no idea what the heck that meant. But somehow or another, I finagled my way into convincing this little country man that grew up in that area that it was better for him to sell to me as another country person there local than it was to sell to a corporate guy. And he owner financed with me after me kind of making things up and convincing him that it was better for him tax-wise and cash flow-wise to do it. And I haven't stopped since then. So, I'm a wobbly box love person. I love my little trailers and my trailer parks and buying land that has trailers on them. And I love finding houses that may not be perfect to go with. I love sub two deals, thanks to you and your knowledge base that you've provided there. And my favorite thing these days is creative financing. And my formula that I'm using now, which I'm calling the REI cash flow formula, and I'm working on a website for that at the moment, is to do what I call 2 10 10 10, which is what we're going to dig in today is 2 10 10 10.
Okay. Well, we're excited to hear more about that. Hey, Yvette, good to see you. Tim, nice to see you on here this morning. Rudy, good morning to you too. Hey, Walter. Walter posted a link to youandmerealty.com. Is that your website, your realty company, Pam, there?
No, I don't know what
Oh,
that is.
maybe that's Walter's. I don't know whose website is that, Walter. Kevin says he's excited to talk to Pam tomorrow. He must be talking to the loan modification guy tomorrow. So
I am. We're going to try and do some partnership deals out in Seattle area. He's
great.
wanting to,
So
so
yeah,
looking forward to that.
okay. Only you and me on the call. Oh, that was a joke. Hey, Chris, good to see you this morning. And CB, good to see you here, everybody. That's right. So tell us, Pam, if you guys have any questions about creative finance or even wobbly boxes, you guys that know me know that I kid Pam all the time about the trailer parks because that I do that. I'll tell you, I had a friend when I lived in Macon who bought mobile homes, mobile home parks, and completely turned around and made a ton of money. But it
Right.
really was listening to his stories about one-legged Johnny and I mean it really and the fights they would get in the weekends and all of that stuff. I mean, I used to just give him trouble all the time, but he made a ton of money and he was in the Air Force full time and actually did everything through a Roth IRA. And I watched that guy put six figures multiple times in a Roth IRA using options and private money and just creating all these notes on these mobile homes. But anyway, that's just the same stuff Pam talks about all the time. So I give her trouble about it, but I have a lot of respect. These guys get returns that are incredible. But anyway, we're here to talk about today the 2 10 10 10. And I know that's going to be your topic at Sub 2 Palooza, but tell us about that. What is 2 10 10 10? What does that mean?
Well, I got to tell you that when I share this formula with people, they don't think it's possible. So I'm going as basic as I can with this formula. But the reality is that I have gotten 4 10 10 10 before. So we're going to start with 2 10 10 10 because it's hard to believe it's possible to get your money to do the magic we're getting ready to talk about. So let me go backwards before I go forwards. I believe in a networking world where sharing a mindset of abundance and that there's enough of the pie to go around. And I was introduced to this concept by a very dear colleague of mine named Jim, who I would love to get involved with some coaching at some point with me, but we're not there right now. So Jim is a guy who's kind of quiet, has had multiple careers, and he'll go out to either short sales or foreclosure sales or be in the courthouse. And he's just a resourceful guy that I adore. So I'm taking his concept and formalizing it in my way with my touch to be able to talk about this. So let's get an example of something I did last week. I had a lady call. She has a small house in rural North Carolina. It's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, cinder block. Nothing pretty, but it's great. The area there demands about a $55,000 sale price if it's fixed up. She calls me. She gives me her little story. She tells me she thinks she wants $30,000 for the house. We talked through the house. It needs possibly a new roof. There's nothing has been done inside of it to update it at all. So after my negotiation with her, I have it under contract for $18,000. So this little house is one I'm going to take and do a 3 10 10 10. So I'm going to triple the price to $60,000 and sell it on owner financing. And when I do that, the only thing I manage is paperwork. I don't go in and clean out the house, but I let the lady know that she doesn't have to worry about cleaning out the house either. Then I find me a buyer and I ask for at least 10% down. In this case, it's going to be $6,000. And then I'm going to finance this house. And if you can use that formula and a little bit of logic, you're guessing it. I'm going to do it for 10 years at 10% there. So I've got a house that I'm putting out 60,000 is my sale price. I'm going to get a $6,000 down payment for that for 10%, which leaves my remaining note for this house of $54,000. You with me so far, William?
Right. We got you.
Okay. So $54,000 from a $20,000 investment. If I do my math here, my $20,000 turns into $85,633.68.
Over
I'm going
10
to
years.
say that again.
Yeah.
My $20,000 initial investment turns into $85,633.68. I get $6,000 down. I leave the remaining balance of $54,000, put it in for 10% over 10 years, and my monthly payment becomes $713.16. Now let's pause for a minute. People are going to say, what about insurance and what about taxes? Well, who's responsible for that? Not me.
Yeah.
I
It's going
make
to
sure
be
that my
buyer.
contract has that laid out for that. So I put 20,000 in, I get 6,000 back, which leaves me a remaining balance of 14,000 on my loan. And when I divide that out by my $713 a month, that loan is in theory paid off within 19 months or less than 2 years. And then after that, it's complete cash flow.
Mhm. So you
Not a bad
actually,
deal.
in these formulas, you actually put everything toward your loan up front. So you're not making any cash flow up front. I mean,
Well,
how do
that
you work
depends
that?
on how we do that.
Right. Yeah.
So this is one example. Again, that's one that I'm doing 3 times. Some of the ones I've done, I've gotten even more creative. So let's say that I don't have $20,000 sitting around, and I don't have the ability. Well, let's just say I don't have that. So let's say I pull in another investor and say, "Hey, Mr. Investor, how about if you give me $16,000 and I can return that back to you in 14 months and then give you some additional cash flow on the end of that? Would that be something you're interested in?" So I have done some of these deals where I have zero in, and then I take 20% of the cash flow coming in to then switch back out and give them 80%, which is the other people's money concept. And then after that, it's cash flow for me, usually for 6 years minimally, all in for my side. They get paid out within 3 years with the interest they want as well. And then we keep going.
Mhm. Okay. Well, that sounds like a great deal. I'm sure the first question a lot of people in different markets, like, and I always comes first people that come to mind are people live in California, higher price markets. But when you operate in smaller rural areas where houses are much less expensive, would this be applicable where maybe a house doesn't sell for 60,000, it sells for 300 or 400? How would that?
Oh, of course. I mean, you can always work it out depending on how you're looking to get the house. And you do substitute deals all the time, and I like to pull those in as well. um, it's all about how you make the numbers magic. But this specific formula that I'm using as an example for the minimum way to do that is really about rural areas, land with trailers. Some people are familiar with what's called a Lonnie deal as well there. So it works out. If we go back to the simplistic formula that I gave in the beginning, if I buy a house for 20,000 and I'm going to sell it for 40,000, which is the two, right? Then that would net a total of 61,000 back in that time period. And then you get your initial recovery in 2.8 years there, because the monthly payment on that one is 475. If you do 3 times, it goes up to 91,000. So by tripling the price, you get 4.5 times your investment value that you put in basically over 10 years.
So, I
So
mean, yeah. So, I mean, you can do that same thing. It's basically the same thing. It sounds like what you've done is applied some of the principles of the phenomenal returns with mobile homes to small houses.
that's correct. Or you can do it with a mobile home. The best deal that I have done so far with this REI cash flow formula, again, that's my name, I'm calling it, and I'm working through a website called REI cash flow formula at the moment, is I had a home in a little town about 40 minutes from Raleigh. I got an acre of land and a brick home. got it under contract for 25,000. So by the time I included my closing costs and all of my commissions and such, I actually borrowed 25,000 from a friend, colleague, and then the buyer put down 10,000 up front. And then we moved that little baby up to $95,000. Actually, it was $105,000. Sorry, because he put 10,000 down. And then over 10% in 10 years, my return of monthly payment was $1,255. My total cost into that loan is going to be $150,651, and I have zero money in it again. So my lender is still getting actively $900 and some a month, and she'll be paid out for, I think we have it at $2,000 more than what she put in initially. The buyer paid $15,000 down 6 weeks after he purchased it because that was my requirement. I wanted $25,000 up front. He brought 10 to the table. 15 4 weeks later, 4 to 6 weeks later. So my investor got 15,000 of her 25,000 investment within the first month.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's getting her money back at $900 a month over the next 16 months plus her interest. And then after that, it's all cash flow to me at $1,255 a month.
You know, and what I hear you saying, and I've talked with you enough to know that most all of these deals you do with private lenders, so you have zero in them. It was interesting. We had someone comment on a Sub2Palooza post yesterday or the day before that said, I want to get started investing, but I need to have the money to get started first. And you're throwing out these examples, these deals where you didn't have, if you hadn't had two nickels to rub together, you could have still bought the house and made the deal happen. So obviously,
I do see a question in here already, William. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
okay.
About who are the buyers of these. And I'll just say they're everywhere. I can put a deal out there like this, and I can have 20 people that's ready to put the money down yesterday.
Right.
Because our buyers are people that, I'm going to make up some scenarios here. Maybe they don't have perfect credit. Maybe somebody in the household is a person that makes money in cash that's not calculated appropriately on a W-2. Or they're a family that has had some challenges in the past. Maybe they don't trust banks, or they have multiple family members together and they can bring $20,000 to the table. I have one that I was talking to last week. I bought a set of 5 ugly houses that most of us don't want for $40,000, and one of them had a renter in it. So I knew I was going to offer that back to them as a possibility to purchase. And my formula I laid out had them paying $3,500 down and then $350 a month after that. So I got on the phone with them and I said, are you interested in purchasing? Yes. How much would you like to put down? They said, how much do you want for the house? I told them $35,000. They have $20,000 to put down and could pay $1,000 a month over the next 12 months. Oh, that was a lot different than what I expected. So the buyers have money out there. They may not have everything that you're looking for to be able to qualify for a bank or traditional measures of some sort. So it's, the possibilities are everywhere for the buyers. Buyers are not the issue.
Absolutely. Hey, Joe, good to see you. Mark, glad you're here with us this morning. We got Tracy here. Tracy made it on this morning. And she took a second out from her travels to join us here. I think Tracy gets around more than we do. Every time I look up, she's at a new place. So good to see you enjoying yourself. Anthony, good to see you. Jim, good to see you on here this morning. Reenie's got a question. She says, what media do you use to attract your buyers?
Sure. We're not very tech savvy at this point. We use old school Craigslist and Facebook at this point. There are other ways to go about it. I have a young lady who speaks Spanish, and she has a whole list of buyers and investors that if I take it to her and it's a hot location, I don't even have to put it on the market. She'll sell it for me instantly. My challenge with that is she gets 5% up front of the sale price. So in the case of the one I gave earlier where we were selling it for $105,000, she took away $5,000 at closing just for making the connection. And that's money that I have to borrow to make this work. So I've tried to figure out how can I get a little bit more clever with that. Now, on the other hand, if I have 5 of these a month coming in and I have my private lenders, is 5% that big of a deal? The answer is no, but it's still money that I have to lend to be able to manage appropriately to be able to do the deal as well. So we've gotten a little bit more creative about figuring out how to find folks on Facebook, Craigslist. We're working on some social media and TikTok and Instagram, but I'm not there yet.
Oh, gotcha. I know, and you know me well enough to know I'm not a very tech savvy person, but there are just so many ways. You need to always be building a buyer's list, and you can do that with a website or just running an ad occasionally. And if the house is already sold, don't just quit answering the phone or say, hey, it's just sold, and get them off the phone. Find out, what are you looking for? How much do you have to put down? What kind of payments can you afford a month? We get stuff all the time. Get their phone number, get their email address, plug them into CRM, whatever you've got. And when you get something, send out that email blast. Says, hey, we just got a 3-2 in. It's in so-and-so neighborhood. We're looking for $20,000 down and that sort of thing. So, yeah, absolutely, Lisa, signing the yard works. You need to make sure you got that stipulation in your contract. And I tell students this all the time. It needs to be in your buying contract that you can immediately start marketing the property. You can put signs in the yard. You can do the, pick your neighbor flyer around the neighborhood. Hey, we've got a house that we're going to have on Oak Street coming up here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If you know somebody who's looking to buy, or a relative you'd like to live down the street from you, let us know. And that's a good opportunity to buy another house too. John Burley shared that with us on the podcast. He said, I do a pick your neighbor flyer, and we go door to door saying, hey, we're going to have this house available in a couple of weeks. Do you know somebody? He said that disarms them, because, you're not just knocking on the door trying to buy their house. Then once you establish that conversation, then he flips the flyer over and says, oh, by the way, we also buy houses. Do you know anybody that's got one for sale? He said the best time to buy a house in this neighborhood is when you've already got another one that you've got for sale.
So, William, the other thing that I want to put on here about the REI cash flow formula, if you have more money than I do at your hands or your fingertips, you're able to leverage other people's money in a different way. If you say put in $60,000 up front and you find a few houses for that $20,000 model that we're talking about, and obviously that can fluctuate up or down depending on where we are. So if we invest $60,000 up front, we're going to get $12,000 back in theory because we're making each house $40,000 each. We're getting 10% back. That puts $12,000 back in our pocket immediately. At the minimum numbers there at $40,000, financing 36, 10%, 10 years, that's $475 a month, which starts bringing in $1,425 a month. All right, you with me so far? We invested $60,000. We got $12,000 back as soon as we sold the house. And then that puts my cash flow coming in. And I'm going to go back to what you said, how soon are you paying yourself? I'm going to say you're going to hold on that for a little bit for this next conversation here. Because if I'm bringing in $1,425 a month, within 6 months, I'm able to buy my next house for $20,000.
Yeah.
So then I'm moving my cash money to $1,900 a month, bringing in $4,000 up front. Then I can buy my next one again within 9 months because I only have one more addition. So my colleague that does that, he has a formula that he's used where they buy 3 houses a month right now with this formula. They take a percentage out for themselves to live on, the cash flow, and then they let the money recycle and they're buying 3 houses a month. So there's a whole formula where you say for the first 10 years, I'm going to let it I'm going to put the loans out there for the first 10 years. For 3 years, I'm going to let it build. At year 3, I'm going to start taking a percentage of that out. When we hit a certain threshold, we then are going to change our loans from 10 years to 12 years. Then we're going to hit another threshold and we're going to change those loan periods to 15 years. And then there's another threshold where you start putting 18, 20, 25, and 30 years out. So what you're doing is you're setting yourself up for continual cash flow with this formula, that you're replenishing your own inventory With the money coming in, you're taking your own money out each month, and then you're setting yourself up for 30 years of success here after you've done about 5 years of work.
Right.
It's a beautiful formula to work with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Lisa shared a link, live.com, a recorded call for buyers that captures their phone number. So you guys may want to take a look at that. Lisa, is that a subscription program? Do they have a free version? Tell us a little bit about that. Hey, Joni. Joni just jumped on, so said she's late to the party. She is making an entrance here. It's good to see you this morning.
Joni is the party. She doesn't have to come late. She is
Oh,
the
yeah.
party.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to meeting all of you guys and Joni. I know Joni likes to party, so we're gonna have a good time down here in September for sure, for sure. Yeah, Mark says pick your neighbors, great, and John's right about buying that way too. Absolutely. If you guys have any questions, let us have them. We're going to answer all your questions about creative finance. So if I understand your formula, for example, today 2, 10, 10, 10. The first number is how many times you're increasing the price of the house. If you buy it for 20 and you sell it for 40, that's a 2. If you buy it for 20 and you sell it for 60, it's a 3.
Correct.
The second number is your down payment percentage. So in this case, it's 10%. Your third number is you're financing the house for whatever the term is.
That's
In
correct.
this case, it's 10 years. And the last number is your interest rate. So that would be 10. So you double the price of the house, you got a 10% down payment, you finance it for 10 years at 10%.
You got it.
And obviously you can adjust those numbers if you sell it for 3 times or 4 times.
Right.
Or you get 15% down, or
Right.
you finance for 15 years at 12% or whatever.
Absolutely. But for the ease of conversation and identifying a formula, because most people, when I tell them I can get 3, 4, and 5 times the amount of the house, they don't believe me.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm acknowledged that I'm in rural areas on purpose. The areas I'm in oftentimes are not cherry picked so well. Like Raleigh, you get probably 5 postcards or letters a day, and they just go in the trash. So these areas are places that most people aren't looking at.
Right.
I should probably not say that out loud because they will become those areas. But everybody's got to have a place to live. I mean, not everyone can afford a $400,000 home or a $300,000 home. And honestly, we don't want to get to a point where that's the case because we have service industry. We have people that want to service and work in those larger cities, but they can't live in those cities. So there's always people looking for their version of the American dream. With this formula and with the way that we're doing this, oftentimes we are actually providing a service and an opportunity to people that's less expensive than what rent would be in the area. And they have their ability to create their own space. Some of them may be handyman specials. The one that I referred to that I went to look at last week, it's sturdy, it's not going anywhere. It could use some updating, but it is perfectly livable for the right family today.
Right.
Come in, make it their own, and be happy with it. So the 2, 10, 10, 10 is a starting base that you can fluctuate those numbers accordingly and make bank on it however you choose.
Hey, Ron, good to see you running late this morning. We're glad you joined us anyway. Let's see. Tracy asked if you can use 70,000 for the house amount. Tell us a little bit more about that, Tracy. I think you would probably still need to be within guidelines of the value of the house, what you sell it for. Am I correct, Pam? In that, I mean, you can't sell a house for 150 if it's only worth. I mean, I guess you could technically, but you want to try to stay pretty close to the actual value of the house with what you sell it for.
Well, it also depends on where you are and what the possibilities are. So let's say we go with her theory there, and maybe we really are taking 5% down on that house instead of the 10% down, right? Or we take more than what, some people are looking at 20% down. As long as you can adjust it to be what the buyer needs, then yes. I have a house that I sold 2 years ago now that the buyer argued with me over 10%. And I'm like, you don't have to take the house at 10%. You're more than welcome to go to the bank and get a loan. Well, he came back and said, well, the bank wants 8%. I'm like, great, bring the 8% back and give me the cash. I'll work with you. And in the end, he decided to go with my theory and my formula, and he laughs about it, says, I don't like that 10%. And I'm like, but you have a house and you're using my money. And so now we giggle about it, right? Because it's give and take. Are you wanting a service for what I'm providing with my money? Yes, and this is what the terms are with that. So
And
um,
he's gonna write that interest off anyway.
absolutely, that's not
Yeah,
going to be anything to him.
right. And he can always refinance you.
That's right. And if he doesn't do it within the 5 years we have listed, then there's a fee in there to him that I get that money in addition to that. So I think I have my current is a $2,000 admin charge that's added in if he doesn't refinance it in 5 years.
Okay, so you're not trying to structure your notes where they're marketable. You want to keep everything.
It depends, is the answer, right? It depends on what I have into it, how much money is in there. I have not actually sold a note yet, but that is something that's on my radar to do in the near future. So that is a possibility. And the other thing that I recognize, William, is I talk to people all the time that want to be investors. And I say, what's your risk tolerance? And some of them don't want to get into risk. They don't want to deal with sellers. They don't want to collect the rent or the payments. So I say that there's something in real estate for everyone because there's opportunities to partner, there's opportunities to find lenders. I've given a couple of examples where if I'm trying not to use my own personal money for this, because I'm doing more and more deals, how do you make that lucrative and financially viable for a partner? I have one partner that's joined with me that says, after I get my initial back, I want you just to keep reinvesting and let's do it again and again and again. That's ideal. At some point, I'm determined I'll have a fund of some sort to do this. So that the money's coming in guarantees the money going out back to the investors. But it'll just take a little while to get to that point.
Right.
It's about trust and figuring out how can we make success for more than one person, depending on their current risk tolerance. I have people that say, I don't know how to do marketing. Okay, what do you want to do? Do you want to come in and learn about marketing? Do you want to come in and learn how to deal with sellers and their calls? Do you want to learn how to negotiate? Do you want to learn how to find buyers? And they're like, no, I don't want to do any of that, but I have money. So I'm like, great, let's match and let's figure out how we do that together.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, be a lender for sure. So, we're talking about creative finance today, guys. If you have any questions, let's have them. But creative financing is just, I remember the first Pete Fortunato event that I went to and feeling like my brain was going to explode because people thinking such, you know, if you're going to be an investor, you have to have money or you have to go to the bank or you have to do this but when you understand creative finance, you can structure deals where you give up tax benefits to one partner or something. You can split up all of these things and make a deal where nobody saw a deal before. Give us a couple of examples of some of the more creative type deals that you've done on just a general single family home here that you've done recently.
I'll give you one of my wobbly boxes. I know that
Okay.
that's not your favorite topic, but I
Oh,
bought a wobbly
I don't know how
box.
we got to that, guys. I don't hate them. They're just not for me. It's like it's like, okay, let's just take seafood for example. Do you like seafood?
Oh, I love seafood. I seafood and I eat it all the time.
I know. You know what I'm
My
saying? I
current
mean, some
diet, if you're
people
asking.
absolutely love it. And I mean, I bring Jody to New Orleans and she won't touch any of it,
Oh
at
gosh.
all. I know it's, but I mean, everybody has different tastes, and that even
Absolutely.
carries over to real estate. It's just like what you were just saying. Some students want zero risk. They don't want to deal with, like me. I don't like tenants. I was a Section 8 landlord for 10 years and made great money doing that. There's a system for that. Does the
There
same
is.
system apply to just regular single family owner finance stuff? No, it doesn't. You got to do some things a little bit different. And I just decided early on that mobile homes weren't going to be my thing.
And that
But
is
anyway,
okay. You send them to me, William, anytime. Anyone can
it,
send them to me.
listen, those were the only leads that I gave away for free. When I was in Macon, I knew a couple that did mobile homes. And when somebody called me and they said, I've got a mobile home for sale, blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, call this guy.
Right.
He'll help you with that because I just wasn't interested. But give us an example Even if it's a mobile home, it's
Yeah,
okay.
I'll give you the mobile home. I gave you the one a few minutes ago about the brick home that
Mhm.
we put under contract for 25 and we got 105 out of it, which leads to I think 150 over time is what I have. I have a mobile home that I got under contract for 22, had an acre, single wide, didn't do anything to it. It had an extra 2 storage sheds on it. Resold that one for 85 with 13,000 down. So in the end, I think I had like 8 or 9,000 left in the deal. I'm still getting $850 on that one a month. It's great. It's easy. So that's another creative one. I do the same thing in reverse if I'm going to a buyer that I'm trying to convince, or I'm sorry, a seller where I'm trying to convince them to sell to me. I have plenty of those as well that I've got under contract where I'm working on one now. He only wants $28,000 for the house. I will resell the house for 50. He's asking 4,000 down, and I think my monthly is $280. So I'm going to ask for 8,000 down and ask for 600 a month, making it a wrap in that case. So I find deals like that frequently. I love those deals. Bring on the creative finance, however we can get them. The package deal I did in a small town here in North Carolina, we had 5 houses for 40,000. One of
Mhm.
them was pretty much a tear down. My cash flow trend on that one over 15 years was going to be $285 for a 40,000 investment.
Mhm.
But that's the one that's surprising to me. And I didn't think ahead like this when I was setting up the price with my own lender. Um, the renter surprised me when they said they had 20,000 to put down. My formula I had gave the lender 14,000 in the first year, and then they would get 90% of the profits until they were paid off. And then after that point, it became half and half for the rest of the profit. So she was going to make over $90,000 on her deal coming in with me, and then we were going to recycle that. So
Phil asked, when you partner with your money investors, are you paying them off or are you giving them a part of the profits?
it depends, is the answer. So the real answer is I'm still new with working with partners. So what I think I know changes about every other deal.
Mhm.
The first couple times I did it, Phil, I paid them off with 100% of all monies coming in. But then I realized I'm not providing any money back to me and my team for commissions or paying myself first. So I won't do that again. In general, what I do now is give them a percentage of the down payment, which is probably 80 and 90%, and then a percentage of the money each month. So 80% is the goal right now until they're paid back and then they get their interest. And then let's say it's a 10-year note, then we may set it up that they'd be paid back within 2 years or less. And then for the next 2 years, for instance, they get 50%. So we split the profit 50-50.
Right.
And then after that, I have a 6-year plan with that. I'm open and flexible to how we set that up with anyone that has an interest in doing some type of partnership there. So I don't have specifics yet. I see somebody asked who services my loan. At this point, we're servicing our loans. We have added a $15 fee to each of our loan payments to manage that because that's somebody I have to pay to monitor, to track, send letters, to do their 1099. So we're doing all that on ourselves right now at $15 a pop.
I and I recommend that. I really do. I've never ever used a loan servicer. I just think it's a bad deal all the way around. Um, you can use a party to ACH draft. That's very, very inexpensive. And, and that's one of the requirements that we've always had for our buyers. We deal, as you know, with credit challenged people in a lot of cases, and we require them to have a bank account. That's one of the steps toward rebuilding. I used to say that we were not just a provider of homes. We also help them rebuild their credit, making sure that they work with credit repair service, make sure they open a bank account, taking all those steps to get back to where they can go borrow money at the bank because we want them to refinance in 3 years. But as
We
far as paying somebody $50 a month to service my loan, I'm sorry, I don't need that.
No, and thankfully we're not at that point. And my team member that does this now, she gets half of any money that bring in. So we take 15 in. She takes $7 per pot for each one she processes. So it makes her happy too. She's willing to do it, and it makes my life easy because she's managing that.
Lisa said we can make some of the highest profits on the crappiest little properties.
Yep.
Anything we can monetize. That's true, but I'll tell you, it's hard to beat when you don't have a nickel in it and you're making money. I always say all those E's across your calculator because there's no
Absolutely.
calculating what your return is there. So
Well,
absolutely.
the other thing that I have realized, William, is we all know what an amortization table is. We all have seen it at some point. We've seen it if we bought a house. We've seen it if we bought a car. Many people don't understand amortization though. And that's something that is fascinating to me. I have seen more ahas go off when I would talk with someone one on one about amortization tables. And when we talk about that percentage, they're like, okay, but why that percentage? And then you talk about the interest and then the amount they're getting back over the time period of the loan. That's when you start creating interest in amortization tables and owner financing. And then people are like, what happens if they stop paying? Well, you take the property back and you do it over again. So I'll take another 10% down and start over, or
Right.
20% down and start over. So I'm okay to manage that risk for the return.
Sure. Absolutely. Anthony said marketing question mark. Not sure what you mean there. Give us a little bit more detail. Hey, Sam Patterson.
Hey,
Gosh, I
Sam.
feel I feel honored that you took a minute to join us. I know you don't stay on social media too much anymore. So he says,
I like that he calls you Mr. Freshness.
I know, right? See, and I always tell Sam the same thing. He always says stuff like that, and I say, hey, listen, I took a page from your book, okay, because you were like super cool. So anyway, I want to be more like Sam. So it's good to have you on here today as well. The thing about it, see some of these questions that what do you do with your lenders? What do you do about this? That's the thing about creative finance. Every lender you can have a different arrangement with. And what it comes down to is the same thing that we talk about with buying a house from a seller. It's all about what they need. Do they just want long-term cash flow? Hey, don't give them any down payment. Just make the payments to them every month, and make your cash flow there. If they want all their money returned very quickly, you can structure that to do that and get your money on the back end. It can always be different. Victor says loan servicing is dependent on state licensing rules. In Georgia, the note holders have to be licensed. The loan servicers are licensed debt collectors. You may be violating state law. Well, I'll tell you, Victor, I don't doubt what you're saying is true. You sound really knowledgeable about it, but I think there's a difference there between private people, individuals. I don't know. Tell me more about that. How does Anthony says, how does Pam market when she does? Is that marketing to buy or to sell? She's already covered how
So,
she.
very carefully is my answer to most things, and however I can get it. I do a lot of driving for dollars. I have tapped into pre foreclosures, I've tapped into probate. People are starting to know what I do. It's interesting. I don't love posting on social media, but I like posting the stories behind the house. And you'll see some of those if you go to Fisher Management Group or Fisher Properties and Rentals through Facebook. Again, I don't do that very well. And the stories behind the house, I can go to a gathering of folks I haven't seen, in the COVID world for a while. And they're like, how do you do what you do? That's so fascinating. And then I'll have someone that says, I know someone that's having problems X, Y, and Z. So I've at the point where my favorite thing is to be a resource. I My previous background, I was an ER nurse, and then I was a project manager at some point. So I love the idea that I can walk into a room when I was in the ER, for instance, and no matter what the issue was with the patient, I got in, I did an assessment, found the solution, and moved them on. And moved them on, maybe discharge, it may be moving them up to the ICU or the med surge or surgery. I love the same concept in real estate. You have a buyer or seller that calls you and says, I have a house. Now you have about 5 strategies with that house, right? They want $500,000 for a house that's worth 300. Great. Let me give you a realtor friend that would love to help you get the maximum amount for that property. Pass them on. I have somebody that's just inherited the house and they don't know what to do. They live in a different state or they don't have enough time. What is the solution I offer? Let me help you with that problem. Let's figure out what I can do to help you. If you can't get everything out of there, you don't want to deal with it, you don't want people coming in, let me work with you to make that happen. So then I would buy that as a probate, right? If I have somebody that's in pre foreclosure, thanks to William and his world, I know what sub two is and how to manage that process. I have somebody that doesn't want to take the implications of selling the house flat out. I know how to do an owner financing with them where they're selling me the house owner financing and then I wrap it around the other way. So I look for opportunities and solutions everywhere. I say it all the time. I find solutions where others can't. And once people understand what you're doing, they'll start referring people to you. I don't have a very good elevator speech because I obviously like to talk more than I like to listen some days. That's not really true. But I try and slip in what I do whenever I meet. I met with a friend yesterday I hadn't seen in years. And she's like, "What are you doing with real estate? And how did you start with it?" So giving her enough about probate. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I would totally do that if my parents passed. I don't want to deal with all that junk." And pre foreclosures and changing of jobs. So you just kind of start providing scenarios of where your services may be valuable to someone. And everybody has lived in a house or knows somebody that has sold a house or has been in a position where they had to sell a house quickly. And once you kind of make that link, then people start talking through you. So I don't go through this and do it as I'm going to push myself on you and sell something or buy something. I do it as what is your opportunity that you're presenting to me? What's the solution? And then looking on the other side for the buyer to say, I have a possibility for you to find a house that you can buy at a reasonable price with just me and you working the transaction. Somebody put on there, I'm a transaction engineer. Thanks. I'll take that as a compliment. I love that. And yes, Lisa, nurses do rule. We're always a nurse.
Right. Yes, Victor, I totally agree with you. Be aware of your state laws and everything that you do. The only thing I would add to that is don't just take the law as it is. Look for a way to do what you want to do the way you want to do it within their guidelines. And always state law or their rules. I always ask myself this question: if there's a law or a rule, I say, okay, what's the penalty for violating it? Okay, and if I'm willing to pay the price, then whatever that may be. And I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm just saying don't say, oh, we can't do that, so we just can't do it. We have to hire a servicer in this example or whatever. So I don't know what licensing involves. I've never been licensed, and I've serviced my own loans in probably 6 states now. And I've never heard anything about it. And it doesn't mean that I won't hear something about it tomorrow. Now that Victor said something about it, probably will happen to me, but maybe it'll be okay.
Sam's talking about driving for dollars and making a trip an expense. I say every time I get in the car, it's an expense because I'm that cheesy person that has my sign up on my little Lexus that I drive around, and it gets a couple calls every once in a while. It gets a lot of strange looks, but that's okay. I'll take the risk that if I park in the right place in the parking lot, somebody's going to see it and give me a call one day.
Lisa asked, do you JV on your deals, and what areas are you looking for properties in?
I'll JV on anything, whether you have a property or I have a property. Let's JV. Let's make it happen. I think the pie is big enough for all of us to have a piece of it. And I am sincerely a believer in abundance within this world. I've met real estate investors that covet what they know and they don't want to talk. And I can tell you that I have learned so much more on a personal and a professional level from networking and connecting and figuring out how do we make things better and easier for each other. So JV partnership, yes, yes, yes. I did my first true partnership. I bought a mobile home park this year with a partner, and that's been a unique experience, a very positive one, thankfully. But there's some things I've learned through that as well, because you don't know what you don't know, right? And if I can leverage William or Lisa or Joni or anyone else that has done something different than I have, then why wouldn't I do that? I don't know what I don't know. Sometimes you don't even know what questions to ask to even get started. So if someone has a house that they think could be an ideal scenario for this, great. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how to make it work. Excuse me.
Hey, Sam, let us know. You said you made an offer this morning. Let us know how that works out for you up there. What are you doing out of Florida anyway? So, thought you hung out down in Florida. But yep, Pam's definitely a transaction engineer for sure. Anthony said, that's it. Thank you. I guess on the marketing question that you have. If you guys have any questions, we've got about 10 minutes left with Pam in here talking about creative financing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting some folks that I feel like I've become really close friends with through your world, William, and our coaching calls. Cindy, come on, let's do a deal. Cindy and I are cut from the same cloth. I swear, William, I think we could be sisters from another mother here. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Try it. Yeah, let's do a deal. I know I'm really excited about meeting we got a ton of coaching students that are coming. We got a lot of people coming. I don't even know. I've never seen their name before. I don't know how they found out about us, but we've had a lot of people register that I've never met or even spoken with. So I don't know how they found us, but we're going to have a great time down here for sure. Hey, Dana, great information. I'll be reaching out to you, Pam, on a possible mobile home park opportunity.
Oh, I love it. Let's talk.
There you
I
go.
love my mobile home parks. And
I
love
know
them.
you do.
We'll buy them all day long and always need lenders for those. So I'll tell you one of my challenges, and part of the reasons why I look for creativity is that most people are scared of mobile homes, and that's okay. I don't mind that you're scared of them, but I'm not. So oftentimes when I'm finding partners and lenders to work with me, it's about the relationship. That's why I believe in connecting and talking and growing together. Um, so it's fabulous when you can find somebody that trusts me or the relationship enough to know that I'm going to do the right thing and are willing to go into that world with me. So absolutely, let's do it. Anytime, anywhere. Like I said earlier, this is my REI cash flow formula. I can't take full credit for it, but this is one example of the 2 10 10 10 world that we live in that I love. So
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's Pam's. Lisa says it's Pam's groupies. Pam's
I
got
love my groupies. Come on.
right. Hey, Mark. Mark says he's promoting us and our event. So great. Hey, I
Wonderful.
appreciate that.
Thank
Listen,
you.
if you guys are on here, share the Sub 2 Palooza post. Let's get as many investors there as we can so we can have a really great time, man. I'm really excited about some of the speakers that we're going to have there, like Pam. Cindy's going to be doing a roundtable for us. She's going to be talking about turning lemons into lemonade, and which is, it sounds a lot like what Pam does too. So yeah, there you go. Making money
William,
with these.
somebody was asking about marketing earlier, and I went into a lady's house yesterday to meet her. And she said, "You look just like your postcard." She was surprised. And
Well, that's because realtors never look like their glamour shots. They never do. I mean, they're like from 30 years ago, right?
I know.
They never look that way.
It was just funny. She's like, "You look just like your postcard." And I'm like, "Thanks." So
Yeah, I don't have a picture on my card.
it's all right. Your card still works.
Works. All right. So you're going to talk all about the 2 10 10 10 at the Palooza.
Yep.
And just creative finance in general. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. This is my favorite topic and my favorite method right now.
Yeah. Kevin says, be nice. Say, I am being nice. You've been around me, Kevin, long enough to know I generally don't say anything nice about realtors. I just don't.
I didn't realize that Kevin was a realtor. That's good to know.
Well, I saw Kevin. Kevin, share your website. He posted. What is it? The strong
Something
realtor.
strong.
I
Yeah.
can't remember now, but I saw that yesterday. So yeah, I generally don't. And I'll tell you, because more often than not, I think realtors are probably, they probably lead the pack as far as deal killers. I think they're more often than attorneys, because it doesn't usually escalate to that level. But I'm gonna bring my attorney in, so they're deal killers too. The strong agent. There we go. There's Kevin. So I didn't realize Kevin was an agent either, but now I have something else to pick on him up. I'll get him about being an agent too.
I find that I talk to a lot of agents and remind them if you have a house that is not your pretty style house that you're challenged with selling, please bring it my way. I can make something out of nothing sometimes, or lemonade out of lemons, as our friend Cindy says. So
That's right. That's
creating
exactly right.
opportunities where other people don't see them. I love that scenario.
Brittany says, that's funny. Listen, present companies excluded as always, Rainey. If you're on Goat Talk or you're in this group, I know you're not one of the 99% of realtors that go, oh no, that stuff's illegal. We don't even want to talk about that. I can't do that. My broker won't let me. I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah, Walter, secret agents. That's right. Secret agents. Hey, that's catchy. That's what Kevin was, a secret agent.
Secret agent. That's great.
Yeah. That's right. If I were an agent, I would keep it quiet. To tell you the truth, I'm going to get off of agents.
Well, I used to think I was going to become an agent, and I decided that wasn't my path because of three things. One, disclosure. Two, I don't want to be at the beck and call of somebody else. And three, I like a lot of flexibility, and I don't want to hang my hat in someone else's agency right now. And
Right.
that's the requirement for the first few years. So,
Well, that's the biggie. People that say, should you have a license? You get MLS access, you get all this and that and this and that. You have this credibility. I'm saying, no, the disclosure factor alone is enough to make me not want to have a license, because every bandit sign you put out, every ad you put out, anything that you put out saying we buy houses has to say licensed real estate agent. And there are a lot of people that just don't want to deal with an agent. Plus the fact that other agents, I think agents they eat their own. You know what I mean? If they find out you're doing something not along that doesn't follow their code or their ethics, they'll turn you in to the broker or whatever and try to get you in trouble. We see that happen a lot too.
Rennie's asking, what is our concern with disclosure? I will give you an example. A friend of mine does marketing. She's a real estate agent. She had sent out some cards, and somebody looked her up when they got a card and they called her brokerage, and she got in trouble with her brokerage, and they required her to put a specific statement legality wise at the end of each of her cards after that. That was one example of that. And that's not something I want to do. I want to go into this, and when I'm speaking to folks as potential sellers, I say to them, I'm not a real estate agent, nor do I want to be. I'm a small town girl that's looking to build my own rental portfolio. And I take each house and manage it as a contract, and then take it from there, whether it's I'm going to sell it, or I'm going to hold it, or I'm going to recreate it to give it to someone else, like an owner financing opportunity. But if I was an agent, not only would I have to be with a brokerage initially, but I'd have more information to give them as far as the upfront piece of that. And then my spiel at this point is we automatically say 6% upfront, because we're not agents and we're not asking for those fees. And then we just back out of that conversation. So for my purposes, I don't want the disclosure, or the tie down that I see it as. Now, plenty of people don't feel that way, and I respect agents. I work with them all the time. I have lots of friends who are agents, but it's just not where I want to be.
Yeah. Well, Lisa says, I guess we're incorrect about that. Sometime you and I need to talk about investor agents. Hey, I'll be glad to do that, Lisa. I'm always, I mean, if I'm wrong on something, tell me. I just base what I do and what I think on the 22 years that I've been dealing with these situations. So, if I'm looking at something wrong, you tell me about it. Let's message me and let's talk some time about it. Sam says Florida agents that require disclosure once or before a relationship is established. Okay. Mark says, I want to talk to you. I plan to become an investor agent, and I have most of these issues resolved. Hey, listen, if you guys found a workaround or whatever, that works for me. And we work around a lot of stuff. I've said this 1,000 times. I've always been more of a ask for forgiveness and permission kind of person. So I like to get out there and take some chances. And I actually, the first person I ever heard talk about that a lot in their teaching was Lonnie Scruggs. He talked about, he gave an example of like Joe and Bob. And Bob said, oh, you've got to be licensed to do this. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. I'm not going to take any chances. And Joe said, well, I'm going to go out here and do it anyway. And made a ton of money. And eventually, someone approached him and said, you can't continue to do this way. He said, oh, okay, well, let me go get my license. Just the example of somebody that said, no, it's too much risk involved. I'm not going to do it. And somebody else that says, I'm going to go give it a shot anyway. So that's kind of the person I've always been. Anyway. Yes, forgiveness over permission. That's right, Mark. I knew, Mark, you'd feel the same way too, because I know you're out there doing some stuff. Pam, listen, it is after we've gone over our hour here. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you being here today and talking with us about creative finance.
Absolutely, anytime. I love to jump on and chat about real estate and opportunities and solutions and making money, and REI cash flow formulas is what we're calling it.
Okay, and that website's going to be up when, do you think?
It is up now, but is not really present. So my intention is to have it up within 2 weeks and running, with some information and some connections on there, and offering for possibilities for JVs or partnerships. If somebody has a deal and they don't know what to do with it, a deal evaluation, how can we work together and figure it out so that we can all win, win, win. It's great.
And you'll come back and put a link in there to it so everybody can find it. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, Rudy. I'm sorry.
I said, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Get to Sub2Palooza. Get your tickets. Come join us in New Orleans. We just got here yesterday. We're going to be here for 3 months, just hanging around and checking things out, and looking forward to meeting all of you guys. Pam, again, thanks for being here with us. You get to see and talk to Pam. She'll be at the event. She'll be doing a roundtable. She'll be going more in depth. You can ask questions.
We'll be meeting on Bourbon Street. Let's go.
That's right. Listen, we live on the corner of Bourbon Street and Esplanade. So
nice.
Yeah, we're right down here in it. All right, guys, y'all have a great day and talk to some sellers, buy some houses. Yes, Pam does rock. Lisa, send me a message. Talk to me. Tell me how I'm wrong about agents and investors. Okay, you guys have a great day.
Have a great one. Thank you, William.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.